Guess while you're checking to see if we're looking for a patient. I don't know where she is. She's supposed to be coming. Well, hi Leah, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Good, a little nervous because today we're doing the first episode of Between Appointments, which is a series by UF Health where we talk to patients, staff, and anyone related to UF Health about authentic healthcare conversations. Today is a very special episode because it's World Cancer Day and we have a patient coming and her name is Jess, right?
Yes, and we're really looking forward to having her on and learning more about her experience as a young person with cancer.
Can you tell me more about Jess?
Yeah, so we connected over Instagram. She has stage 4 colorectal cancer. She's a patient here at UF Health. And we're looking forward to having her share a bit more about what her experience has been like.
Kind of nervous because since I don't have experience with cancer personally or with family, I don't know how to navigate a conversation with someone with cancer. It makes me nervous. Although I do create social media, I still don't have that exposure. So I'm very nervous that I might not do justice to her story or might ask a question that might be insulting. I don't know how to navigate that.
I think the most important thing is being curious and being open and wanting to learn from her. And I think there's so much power in stories and connecting with others through their story. So I appreciate your willingness to do this episode, especially with World Cancer Day and the theme, which is United by Unique, which I think is a very impactful approach because everyone's story is so different who goes through cancer.
Interested and I'm excited to meet her. It sounds like an interesting story. I guess while we wait for her and while you wait to see if she's coming or
Yeah, let me check, see if she sent me a message.
did you tell her to come to Wilmot Gardens?
Wait, she did send me a message. 1 second. We're in the parking garage right now. Meet you in the garden.
All right. So we're right now.
Can I put my microphone down to reply or no?
Yes. Right now we're at Wilmot Gardens. I used to be a photojournalist here at UF Health years ago. From what I remember from the garden, so you might be able to correct me, is that it's from the college. The College of Medicine runs this garden. It's supposed to be a healing garden. They do have sales where they have plant sales. You can buy plants. They have a master gardener. You think Danny would want to sit here?
Oh, he is adorable. Is he a golden?
He's an Irish Terrier.
Okay. He's adorable.
Can you hear us?
Can't hear you guys. Is that okay?
You can't? Can you hear us now?
I can hear you.
Is it too loud?
No, I think that's good.
Okay.
It's weird to hear yourself, too.
I know. Okay. So, welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I see that you brought a dog with you.
Yes, so I have my Irish Terrier, Danny Boy, here, and we found his cancer tumor the same day that we found mine, and then he went through treatment at UF, and so he is cancer-free right now.
How old is he?
He's 8 years old.
8 years old. Okay. Did you get him when he was a puppy?
Yeah. Yep, so we've had him since he was itty-bitty. Good. Yeah, doing pretty good. Yeah.
That's good. Really excited that you're here, and we just want to know a little bit about you. Just to start off, can you tell us a little bit about your story?
Sure, yeah. So I have a family history of breast cancer from my aunt and my grandmother. So I get screenings done routinely. And so this past July, I had my breast MRI done. And thank goodness I kept up with those routine screenings because they found masses on my liver in that. And so then we started looking a little deeper, and it turns out I have stage 4 colorectal cancer. So with a colorectal mass and lymph nodes and liver masses. So I've been going through some treatment for that. And initially it was radiation for a week. And then after that, it's been chemo. So I've been doing chemo every other week for almost 6 months now. So I think my last chemo treatment is February 10th. So it's right around the corner. We'll probably do surgery after that.
That's good. So I don't have a lot of experience with cancer or have family with cancer, so I don't know the correct questions to ask. So if I ask anything that you're not comfortable with, just let me know. I don't know if we should say congratulations about ending chemo or like finishing chemo and then going to surgery. Is that a...
Yeah, I think it's a definite big milestone, a point to celebrate. And I've been staying really optimistic through the whole thing. And so that's been our thing. We have our vision boards and staying really positive. So yeah, we're celebrating every milestone we can. So congratulations is definitely appropriate.
Okay, well, congratulations.
Congratulations. That is a big milestone.
Yeah, the chemo wears on you after some time. The first few treatments, it's just an adjustment, but then eventually you feel sick all the time, so it really wears on you. So I'm excited about the next step.
And you work at UF, or UF Health.
I'm in medical coding and billing.
Okay.
So I work with a group of people over at the building that used to be Nationwide.
We're in the C wing.
Yeah, we're in Pod A.
You still have work throughout your...
I've been able to work full time.
Oh, wow.
My boss has been really supportive, and they've allowed me to work remotely. I used to have like a partial remote, so I would work remote a couple of days a week, but they've allowed me to work remotely the whole time just to try to stay away from germs.
Yeah.
Has that like given you like a good distraction, or is it hard, or what? How would you say, like, what's your advice to someone who's maybe wants to work while they're going through cancer treatment?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. If you have a job that you can manage and tasks that you can handle while you're going through the chemo treatments, I think it's really helpful because it gives you something that is familiar for the diagnosis, and it gives you something to focus on and be productive at. So it's really rewarding, and it's helped me stay more focused, I think, on just what's going on, and kind of distracts you from the sickness, you know?
Well, so I have some questions.
Go for it.
What are some things that you think people, like before you had cancer, that you thought about cancer treatment that you've learned like aren't true or kind of are myths, maybe?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I thought I would lose my hair. I just assumed, I'm going to do chemo, I'm going to lose my hair. But the chemo drugs, there's so many different ones that they can use. So the one that I'm on, it thins your hair, but you don't really lose it all. So I don't feel like I look like the classic cancer patient in a sense. So that's been something I've been learning, is how the different meds affect different people. I have a couple of friends who are also going through cancer treatments, and their treatments are different. Their side effects are very different than mine. So I think that's a myth that I just didn't really understand. And then there's other things too that's really interesting about the cancer and when it spreads, and how it's just been a crash course, when you go into it. You end up learning so much from all the different doctors. But when it metastasizes to a different area, it's like a whole new cancer. So it can be responsive or not responsive to the same thing that the original tumor is responsive to.
Oh, interesting.
So is that something you're going through, or?
Yeah, so the primary tumor in my colorectal area, that was really responsive to the radiation and the chemotherapy. The liver masses, they've shrunk about 20%. They haven't shrunk that much, so they're not quite as responsive. So the next step is going to be putting in a pump that goes directly into my liver. And because your liver filters so much out, they can give you 200 times the chemo and have it like really get the liver mass. I'm excited about that.
Is that like, I think I've heard about that. That's a very new treatment, right?
Yes, it's been around. It's been around for a little while, but it hasn't been really embraced across the community in the different medical facilities. So they started doing them in, I believe, the 80s in Memorial Sloan Kettering in New York City. That's where they started doing these. And so they started doing it as a study, and then eventually, like in recent years, like the past couple of years, there's been more enthusiasm about it. And so they've been trying to do it more at different locations. So I know we're trying to do them here at UF as well. And then they have the program that's still running up in New York City.
Seems like you've learned a lot or done a lot of research.
Yeah.
I'm sure when you start this journey, it's very confusing.
Yes.
And maybe frightening. Do the nurses and doctors take the time to walk you through everything and explain things?
Yes, that was something that's been really nice about my experience here with the providers, is they really do. They don't rush you. They let you take the time to answer. That's why I don't complain if they're running behind, because I'm like, somebody else probably has a lot of questions too. Yeah. And I want them to have the time to get those answered. But they've been really, really helpful and patient and informative. And they haven't given me like prognoses, which I think is really encouraging, because if you look up the prognosis of what my original diagnosis was, it's pretty grim. But they weren't saying like, oh, you have this much longer to live. They just talked about how we're going to tackle it, how we're going to treat it. And so that was really positive. And then they also have like a nurse coordinator. So she's assigned to me to help kind of coordinate anything. So if I do get overwhelmed with the appointments and scheduling everything, she can jump in and help a lot.
That's good. That's great. Yeah, that's really good.
Like when you first got the diagnosis, did you like go to Google and like get overwhelmed by it, or did you try to like, because I know a lot of people, or it's like Dr. Google, and then you get information that maybe your doctor is like, no, that's not right, or how do you balance that piece of it?
That's a really good question, actually, because there's so much information out there. So I try to go to sites that are like .orgs and things. So I would go to like the Mayo Clinic site or different things like that. I found a site that is specifically for colorectal cancer that is a .org. So I used that to learn a little bit more specifics about how they stage the cancer and everything and what types of treatments you typically see. But it was hard not to go too far down the rabbit hole because I didn't want to overwhelm myself or get discouraged. I figured if there's a 1 in a million chance that I can survive this, that's going to be me. So the prognosis doesn't really matter to me.
If you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
That's a good question. So I'm 40 now. So I was 39 when I was diagnosed. Yeah, so it's young. There's actually a rise in the cases of younger adults who are being diagnosed with colorectal cancer right now.
Family, friends, support?
Very, very, very fortunate with all the support that I have. Both my husband's side of the family and my family live like 30 minutes away. And then I have a really great support system of friends who are just incredibly helpful. I have a 1.5-year-old daughter, so she's a little ball of energy. So having friends come over and help take care of her and stuff has been tremendous.
What's her name?
Imogen.
Oh, really? Cool. That is a beautiful name.
Yeah, thanks.
So I guess for you, what is the best way to support you that you've seen, especially since you have practically a toddler now? What do you find most helpful?
So we've had some friends and family set up like a meal train to bring us food, and that is really helpful because when you don't feel good or you're just worn out, and like my husband is very supportive, but he's, on my worst days, he's like a single parent all of a sudden, and so he's worn out as well. So having meals brought to us is really helpful, and then just being able to come over and help with the baby and just play with her because she'll try to climb up on me, and I'll have like my port plugged in, and so she's just, yeah.
How do you navigate that with toddler? Have you explained anything?
So she looks at me like nothing's wrong, so I don't think she's understanding that anything's going on right now. The only time she looked upset is when we were crying some happy tears, when we had some imaging and saw that there was some change that was happening. And she just kind of looked like, why is everybody crying? But I think aside from that, she just looks at me like I'm just mom. So yeah, we haven't had a conversation with her about that. We have with some of our nieces and nephews. We tried to give them some information about what's going on to make it not so scary and to encourage them to ask questions.
So it's okay to ask questions, I guess.
Yeah.
I have some questions about your dog. I think that's such an interesting and strange that it happened on the same day.
It's so strange, yeah. So I took him in for a dental cleaning, and then that was the day after I had my MRI. And so I was reading the results of my MRI, and I was reading it on my cell phone, and I was like, oh, there's masses on my liver. Huh. And then all of a sudden my phone started ringing, and it was our vet, and I picked it up. And she had gone in to intubate him for his dental cleaning and found a mass in his throat. Oh my gosh. So we found out about our masses like within a minute of each other. But wow. Yeah, so that was really bizarre.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So you were like on your phone looking at the results when they called?
Yes. Yes, I was like, I have liver masses. And then I was like, oh, Danny has a mass. So it was quite a day.
Did your brain like struggle to process?
Yeah, it was kind of like it didn't really sink in for a little while, and I was still kind of hoping that the liver masses were benign. I was like, well, maybe I don't have cancer. But with biopsies and whatnot, we found out we both did. He didn't have the best prognosis either. They said that maybe if we do surgery, we'll extend his life like another year. But we did surgery, radiation, and then a new trial that they have that's a vaccine that kind of teaches your body to, I guess, fight the cells that might still be floating around in there. And then his imaging showed that he has no cancer, so he's cured. Wow. Yeah, he was over at UF Vet Med, so we had a couple of days where our oncology appointments were on the same day.
So, like, I'm curious about, like, two things. Did it feel like it was, like, your dog supports you kind of in the journey, or also, like, was it hard? Was it hard also, like, one thing I think is, like, loved ones, sometimes it's so hard for the loved one to watch their person going through something. Like, did it give you a glimpse into, like, wow, it's so hard to see my dog who I love suffer? Like, what was that like?
That's a good question. So he's always been super snuggly and supportive, and so he's just been my little snuggle buddy, and any day that I don't feel good, he's got his head on my stomach or his head on my lap. So he's just been a little angel. But yeah, I think it was kind of a reminder to look at it because I couldn't imagine losing him. And then I had to have that step back and have that perspective and be like, well, my husband's looking at maybe losing his dog and his wife. So it gave me more sympathy to what my loved ones are going through. Yeah. And I think that's the hardest part for me, is knowing that they're scared and sad. worried. I think that's the hardest part for me to grapple with.
Did his veterinarians know about your
Mm-hmm.
situation?
Yeah, we told them because we had some scheduling.
So I have some other questions not related to the dog, but thank you for going into that, because I think that's it's interesting, like the bond and how like the healing with animals, right? Like sometimes those bonds are really underappreciated, and like I think you can have like a real connection.
Absolutely, and it can help with different things if you start to feel anxious. Or then he just comes up and it just kind of melts things away a little bit.
Yeah. One question I want to ask you. So like a lot of times, like I do a lot of writing about cancer, and a lot of times I hear from people like the language about like a battle or a fight with cancer is like some people don't like that, some people do use it. What's your take on that? Or like, does it bother you when people use that kind of language? Or how do you describe what you're going through?
That's a good question. I usually describe it as like a fight or a battle, but I don't talk about the chemo meds like they're toxic. I don't like to talk about it because I know some people are like, oh, it's poison in your body. But I just talk about it like it's medicine, just to try to stay more optimistic about it. I could imagine some people maybe being more sensitive to the terms that we use, but I've just been saying that I'm fighting a battle.
I guess in that topic, what are some things that would be offensive to you, or maybe bad advice people have given you?
That's a good question.
Yeah. Sometimes I do think you have to take things with a grain of salt and remember that people sometimes aren't sure what to say.
Yeah.
They just want to say that they love you, they hope things go well. And so sometimes when people say like, oh, everything happens for a reason or something like that, like, oh, so there's a reason I have cancer. Sometimes it kind of rubs you the wrong way, but you know that they mean it just as like everything's going to work out. There's a plan.
Yeah.
As they're trying to be encouraging.
Yeah.
It'd be a little frustrating to hear.
Yeah, because it kind of like devalues or like minimizes it a bit, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It kind of, because you don't want to like take away the validity of what you're going through.
Has anybody given you any, I guess, ways to cure yourself that are really not helpful?
There's definitely been some suggestions from like loved ones and family members. They'll like see a documentary or they'll read about like a vitamin or something or nutritional supplement or something like that type of thing. And I always like to look at those things and consider them and factor them in. But I think that I rely more heavily on the medical care. But it's I mean, I'm open to all kinds of things. So if people are like, oh, you can get a sound bath and it's healing, I'm like, sign me up, like let's do it. Let's try it. It can't hurt. So
I guess you would try anything.
So as long as it's not countering the medical treatment I'm getting, then it can't hurt, then I'm up for trying it.
Do you ever ask your providers if it's okay to like try something else?
Yeah, definitely. So I like to run things past them, especially if it's like a nutritional supplement or something.
Yeah.
Just to make sure it doesn't mess with the meds and stuff. But yeah.
Medications.
Yeah.
So it kind of depends day to day. So earlier this week I had my chemo on Monday, and so for a few days I was taking more pills than normal. So probably 8 to 10 a day. And then I take more throughout the day to help maintain like the nausea and stomach pains and things like that. So yeah, I'm probably taking like 10 to 15. So it adds up, and yeah, you get kind of tired of swallowing pills.
What like have you found that helps like when you're getting chemo or your infusions? Like I've heard like hard candies, or if your mouth is dry, has anything helped you like?
So I like ginger candies. It kind of helps with the nausea as well. So there's like these little hard ones that you can get that are really good. And they have them in like ginger lollipop forms and stuff too. So there's all kinds of things. I was really lucky. Groups of my friends and my coworkers gifted me like big baskets full of things to do, like fuzzy socks and coloring books and crochet kits and just all kinds of stuff to keep me busy while I was going through treatment.
That's what I was going to ask. What would be like a good gift basket?
Yeah, like what should you give someone going through?
Yeah, that's a good question. I got loads of blankets, almost too many blankets.
You can't have too many blankets.
I know, right? My husband's like, you can have too many blankets. But I think things like little packs of tissues, little things of hand sanitizer, those little toothbrush, like throwaway toothbrush things are really good because if you do get sick, then you can brush your teeth a little bit. That's really nice to have.
While you're on the go or something.
I have like a sick bag in my car that I have like an actual bag I could throw up into, and then I have some of those little toothbrushes and ginger mints and chapstick and things like that too. So if you do have an episode, you can kind of recover and not just be sitting there feeling like your mouth tastes like it.
That would be a good gift. Like you give someone that they could keep in their car.
Yeah.
That it would like, that was what I was interested in. Like sometimes people don't know how to support someone because they just have no experience with it, and it's like, what should I give to them? So that's a good.
Yeah,
that's good
putting
too.
together a little sick bag would be a really great one, I think. Oh yeah, and then they can put it in their car, or they can keep it in their bag, or whatever they like to do. And then coloring books and things like that are always nice to have, some nice markers or something. So yeah, and honestly, some people say like they don't know how to help and stuff, but honestly, just reaching out and saying, hey, how are you? Hey, I'm thinking about you today. Like those little gestures mean so much, because you start to feel kind of lost in your sickness and kind of forgotten about. And so when people reach out and just say something like that, it means the world.
So text messaging someone, and it's okay. And if you're not feeling okay, do you ever not reply back?
Sometimes, sometimes I'm not feeling so great, so I might delay my text back. But I think that's why I like text more, because if I'm not feeling good, I'm not necessarily wanting to talk on the phone. But I can answer a text either now if I feel good, or in an hour after, I'd have some more medicine or something. So yeah, I think text messaging is really good for me. There might be some patients who don't like texting as much, but it works beautifully for me.
So one thing I'm curious about, like, do you think you were in healthcare, and you've been in healthcare a while? Like, how long have you worked in healthcare?
So I've been here at Shands for 10 years. I've probably worked in healthcare for almost 20.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Do you think, or like, how did that change maybe your experience with treatment, or what do you think it gave you?
With billing and coding.
Yeah, it definitely gave me more insight, because I was more familiar with the avenues to get things scheduled or rescheduled.
Yeah.
And I feel like I didn't feel quite so overwhelmed or lost when I was going through this. I think that could be harder for someone who's not as familiar with the medical system, just not really knowing who they can reach out to or what they can say, ask for and things. So I think it's been really helpful, and just being more familiar with like medical terminology, so I can understand a little
like
bit
the
more.
Words they're saying to you.
I can kind of understand what they're saying most of the time.
That's a good.
It's like a whole different language. Things you have to learn. And I imagine someone, when it's totally new, it's like, the fire hose effect.
Absolutely. It's really overwhelming initially. It's a lot of information.
I don't even know how to ask this. Like, when you get your bill, or you look at my chart, I'm assuming, to get your statement, do you look to see that things are coded correctly?
She like fact checking. Right.
I check to make sure everything like looks about right to me with like the dollar points and stuff, but I don't go too deep dive into it. I think our system, like our groups, do a really good job of the medical coding and billing, so I give them some trust. And if there's something that's like way bigger of a bill than I expected, I might call and just be like, hey, how is this coded?
I'm always thinking about like the types of friends you should have, like a mechanic, a plumber, like a dentist, medical, like
a medical.
Like they know the secrets.
Now you've got a friend. You just hit me up.
That's a good one to have. Like, it's a good knowledge and skill.
But yeah, I think that other than that, my only advice is, because there's a rise in colorectal cancer in young adults, it would just be not to ignore symptoms. And even if you go to a doctor to talk about a symptom, like if you have blood in your stool or stomach pains or something like that, and if they kind of dismiss it and say like, no, you're young and healthy, like everything's fine, to really advocate for yourself, because you just don't know, and it's better to be more thorough and just really speak up and make sure that if you do have something, you can catch it early, and then the battle is a lot easier.
Did you have symptoms? Because I know you were scanning.
So I had blood in my stool, and that was like 3 years ago it started. And I went and had a colonoscopy, and they didn't see anything wrong. And then they said that I needed to like eat more fiber and strengthen my pelvic floor. So I was like, okay. Well, then I got pregnant with my baby, and so I was just focused on pregnancy and surviving that chapter. And so I didn't really go back, but I had continued having the symptom. And so I think that if I had maybe spoken up for myself a little bit more before becoming pregnant, or even while I was pregnant, maybe we could have caught it earlier. But I'm still grateful because, it didn't go any longer. If I didn't have my MRI screening of my breast and found the liver masses, then I don't know how bad it would have been by the time we found it.
Humor to cope, or how do you cheer yourself up?
Yeah, sometimes humor is a good way. Sometimes just getting outside, just getting some sunshine. And then I have a vision board that, kind of like things I'm looking forward to and doing with my daughter and stuff as she grows, and just staying optimistic like that.
If you don't mind saying, what's on your vision board?
So I've got pictures of places I want to go. I want to go to like a hot air balloon festival. I want to like write like fun things like that, just different places. And then I have some motivational quotes on there, some notes from like my siblings, and then pictures that I printed off of Pinterest of like a mom and daughter like baking together, or a mom and a daughter like in matching outfits getting coffee, or like things like that. So yeah, just stuff like that I want to be there for.
What are you looking forward to today?
Let's see. I mean, probably. So my friend Paula is here with me today. She's helping with the dog, and then she's helping with the baby tonight and tomorrow.
So nice.
Thank you, Paula.
Yeah. So Paula's been awesome. So looking forward to hanging out with Paula, and we're gonna have a couple of girlfriends get together too and watch Wicked.
That sounds.
Watch that one yet?
Excited.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I think I'm good, and I appreciate you sharing about that self-advocacy piece, because I think that's so important, and especially like sometimes people they think like I'm not worthy of it, or I'm not going to advocate for myself,
Or they doubt their knowledge because they're like, well, the doctor knows everything, but you know, nobody's perfect, and they know so much, and I have so much respect for doctors. So don't get me wrong on that, but you do, like, sometimes you just have to speak up for yourself, because I think that if there's a chance that a doctor is used to seeing people who are in their 70s coming in with this diagnosis, and then you come in and you're in your 30s, and they're like, oh no, you're healthy, like you're fine. And so I think that that's just a natural inclination. So to speak up for yourself is really important.
Yeah.
So are you part of any support groups, or like Facebook groups, or there's support groups?
That's a good question. I haven't yet. Had some resources offered to me, but I honestly, this might sound kind of dark, but I'm kind of hesitant to connect with a lot of people who are going through similar things, because if they don't make it, I feel like that will be really depressing for me. So I'm just trying to keep a lot of positivity around me. So I haven't really gotten into support groups, but I do see a therapist. So I do see a psychiatrist every week.
I appreciate you sharing with us. I think it's really powerful to hear other people's stories, and we really appreciate it. And one of the reasons that we're doing this is World Cancer Day is on Tuesday. I don't know if you know.
Okay, I knew it was coming up, but I didn't know.
Yeah, and the theme this year, Bella and I were talking about, is like unique stories and how the power of storytelling, I think. Yeah, so we really appreciate you sharing with us.
Appreciate you reaching out. It's nice to have an avenue to share my story through.
I think maybe we can ask the question.
Yeah, why don't you ask it?
What does healing mean to you?
Healing to me means growing stronger and finding peace at the same time.
That's a good answer. You keep thinking of new things.
Well, this is my opportunity, you know. And that's why I studied journalism. I just have questions. When you're in chemo, how do you keep yourself entertained? Do patients talk to each other? Do you see people that you run into all the time?
So I don't really see a lot of people that I run into all the time. And a lot of people in the infusion center are trying to nap. A lot of the chemo meds make you really sleepy, so we usually don't talk to each other too much. But there's always a friendly face, so when you see them walking by, you know, everyone always says hi to each other and smiles, and because we know that we're all in this, going through these similar things. But yeah, I keep myself entertained. I either have like my husband or my mother or my father or somebody with me so that I can talk to them, and then there's always Netflix.
And how long does like a infusion appointment last?
So for me, it's about 3 hours, 3 or 4 hours. So it's not too bad. I'll go in for an appointment first and have lab work drawn. So I'll be here for a little while. But the actual infusion part is like 3 or 4 hours.
My gosh.
So it's good to like have some coloring books and maybe watch a movie or something. Have lots of things to do.
What's your favorite Netflix show right now?
Man, what is it called? I'm gonna draw a blank or say it wrong. Nobody Wants This. It's got a awful.
Watch that show. Wait, is it Nobody
Wants This? She dates a rabbi.
Yes, I watched that show. Did you watch it?
No, I've like the TV in my house is just like dedicated to my kids, so it's like blippy. And then I'll just
I was trying
watch
to think if that was like
on my phone.
or is it Nobody? I forgot if that.
It's something like that.
It's like Nobody. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, that was very funny. I actually thought the humor was hilarious.
It was like a funny rom-com. It's a little vulgar for around the kids, but it was really cute.
That's why I have my phone, and if I do watch,
there you go.
They're like entertaining. Like it's like it'll be like
I usually just watch like reality TV, like Love Island, to just get my mind off things.
Yes, I do some of that too. Oh yeah, I was watching this like millionaire matchmaker show or whatever, and I didn't realize how old it was. And they were giving fashion advice. I was like, oh, I didn't know I shouldn't be doing that. And then I realized it was filmed in like 2012.
It's like,
no.
is there anything else you'd want to say or share with the world about your journey, or just hope maybe, or somebody that's in your situation?
Just say like hang on to hope, because the numbers, you're not a number, you're an absolute individual, unique person. So just keep fighting and keep hoping, and I think that we can get through a lot more of it if we try to keep our headspace in a happier, healthier spot.
It's a great message.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I hope maybe we can stay in touch and you can let us know how you're doing if you want to. Totally.
I'd love to do that.
We might see her.
We might see you at the coffee or at the hot water station.
Right? Yeah. Seriously, I might see you guys around the office.
Yeah. So thank you again so much.
Thank you so much.
And I guess thank you for tagging the UF Health Cancer.
I don't know if you tagged us or maybe you just like our stuff and that's how I
remember.
Yeah. I'm always like looking at people. I don't know why, but
I know. I look at people too, because people tag us.
yeah, I look at like who likes our stuff.
And I look at their journey. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Well, you guys enjoy the rest of this beautiful day.